Gunther and Ben, ESPN 700, 401. Kyle Gunther, Ben Anderson.
There's 5 Utes that got drafted this past week in the NFL draft, and I think next year you could be talking about at least 8 NFL draft picks on Utah's team. I'm not talking about total NFL players. I think 8 guys could get drafted next year, including Jalen Johnson in the first round.
So welcome in our next guest. You can find him on Twitter at DSorensen. You can read him at utezone.com. Covering the Utes, it is Dan Sorensen. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Well, we're pumped to be talking more NFL prospects with Utah, and we knew there was a few last week. I know you joined us. We talked about Cody Barton's stock maybe being in the 3rd round there at the linebacker spot, but overall 5 guys get drafted from Utah. Which case was the most surprising to you?
You know, probably the 2 specialists, and not so much that they got drafted, but how high they got drafted. Of course, Mitch Wisnowski went in the 4th round, and you know, it's just really rare to see a punter get picked anywhere above it. It's rare to see a punter get picked, period, but to see them get picked anywhere above the 6th or 7th round is especially a surprising development. And so I think that's great for Mitch. You know, he's walking into a situation where the 49ers badly needed a punter. He's going to step in and be a starter from day one and have an opportunity to show what he's got in a good market and a good place to live. And so that's a great situation for him. And then, of course, Matt Gay going the very next round and you know, having an opportunity in Tampa Bay is a good thing for him. So those were the biggest surprises for me. You know, I know that when we talked about it last week, I talked about how Marquise Blair might sneak up into the 2nd round, and I think I might have been the 2nd happiest man on the planet, you know, after Marquise to see that happen, because I was wondering if I went out on a limb on that. But you know, the Seahawks obviously knew what they wanted, and they went out and got Blair, and then they got Barton in the very next round, and so it's going to be kind of fun to see all those Utes going and playing in Seattle.
What's the expectation then for Marquise Blair to be that high of a draft pick, which, again, not many people had really talked about him going in the top 47?
I think as a rookie, definitely a 2-deep guy. That Seattle's trying to rebuild that secondary. You know, it's a secondary and it's a defense that they're known for. You know, hard-hitting guys. It's what they like. You know, they didn't call it the Legion of Boom for nothing, right? And Marquise Blair is going to fit right into that. You know, he's not quite as big as a Cam Chancellor was, but he's a guy that certainly can hit as hard as Cam Chancellor did. And so I think that with the depth that they've already got on the position, we're going to see him play. He may or may not start, but the expectation isn't necessarily for him to start. It's for him to you know, learn how to be a professional in year 1, so that in year 2, you know, they've got some options with what they can do with him, and that's I think what the expectation is for both Marquise and for Cody. You know, both of those guys, they're smart football players. They'll fit well into that scheme. Seattle obviously thinks highly about Utah and what they're doing on defense and how they're preparing for guys to get to the next level and play in the NFL. But for both of those guys, they step into good situations where they can be depth guys to begin with and then grow into potentially starting roles down the road.
What's success now for a guy like Chase Hansen? He signed an undrafted deal with the Saints. What's that road to success look like for Chase Hansen now?
I mean, bottom line is he's got to make the 54-man roster, right? So it's not surprising that Chase didn't get drafted. He's got an injury history. He played half of last year with that back injury and was not healthy enough to participate in the workouts. Of course, you know, he's a return missionary. He's older than most players, and NFL teams, they get weird about that. They just don't like that those 2 extra years that guys serve on missions. It's really seen as a knock on pretty much anybody that does that. And so for him to go down to New Orleans, you know, he's got to A, show them that he's healthy, and B, he's got to show them that he's versatile. He's got to be a special teams guy. He's got to be able to make plays there and be a standout there. He's got to be that guy that can be the coverage linebacker, and that's really where his strong suit is, and where he was going to fit in an NFL scheme was going to be that linebacker that can come in and play during, you know, nickel and dime sets, that can rush the passer or drop back into coverage, and has got good ball skills. And so he's going to have to prove that. You know, it's interesting that New Orleans also picked up another undrafted free agent that Utahns should know well, in Porter Gustin from USC, also a linebacker, more of a pass rusher. I don't think Chase or Porter could be more different in terms of both personality and play style, but it's going to be really interesting to see what New Orleans does with both of those guys, and which of those guys is more important. But for Chase especially, he's got to get healthy. He's got to stay healthy and show that he can stay healthy. And that New Orleans staff, they'll take a flyer on him. They'll give him a shot if he's able to show that.
Dan, can you give us a little history on Porter Gustin, down from his recruitment to Utah and BYU to ending up at USC, and why he was, at one point a guaranteed first-round draft pick and ends up going undrafted?
Well, with Gustin, of course, Utah high school standout, one of the better high school football players to ever come from in-state. BYU was interested early and they dropped off. Utah wasn't interested early but got interested late. But by that time, I think at the end of his recruitment, it was Utah or USC. But, Utah didn't have much of a shot at all. They gave him a last-ditch effort, but it wasn't going to overcome what USC was offering. And so, of course, he went down to Southern California, had a good college career. He fell off of draft boards for two reasons. Number one is, he got hurt and that coming back from the injury, and he's had injury history as well, which scares people away. But then, he had the PED test and that, and whatever you want to say about that, but, the PED test basically doomed him from getting drafted at all. And of course, once again, New Orleans taking a flyer on him, and he's a heck of a football player. You can see it on film, and, he lives in the gym. And so, he's the type of guy that I could see NFL teams being interested in. But definitely, especially with that late breaking news about failing the PED test, you weren't going to see any team draft him at all.
Dan, I want to ask you about some class of 2020 recruits. How about some guys with some Utah connections? Xavier Carlton from Juan Diego's got offers to Notre Dame, Michigan, USC, UCLA. What's the story with Xavier there?
Yeah, Xavier Carlton actually he transferred into Juan Diego. He actually has played all of his high school football in Modesto, California. And of course, his mom got a job in Utah. The family's moving out to Utah, so he's transferring to Juan Diego. And he instantly becomes probably the number 2 player in the state of Utah, right behind Noah Sewell. But Carlton is a fantastic player. He's all of 6'7". He's about 250 pounds. Rusher, is extremely athletic, great tackler, great motor. He's got 25 offers right now. Some of the biggest programs in all of college football have offered him. He's an interesting kid because he's been to Utah a lot. His dad actually played for Utah in the late 80s, and so there is a family connection to the program. When he was living in California, he would come on his own dime to visit the Utes. He's been to games in Rice-Eccles Stadium. The Utah coaching staff has a great relationship with him, and he's definitely one of the top targets that are on Utah's recruiting board for this class. So this is a kid that I'm excited because we get to watch him in person now. I expect him, as long as he's healthy, to completely dominate the Utah high school football scene, and it's going to be interesting to watch his recruitment. You mentioned Notre Dame. That's definitely a school that's pushing hard for him, as is Cal, as are a few others, and Utah's going to be in it till the end, but they've got their work cut out for him if they want to keep him up on the hill. So he's definitely a guy that's probably top of our board in terms of guys that we're watching, but it's only a good thing that he's going to be in state and he's going to be able to develop that deeper relationship with those coaches.
Dan Sorensen's our guest, ESPN 700. Dan, we know the Utes for sure are adding a player to come in and help on the offensive line. They teased this all throughout spring, and then they got it yesterday. Alex Locklear says he wants to wish everyone that's been a part of his hectic process being in the transfer portal well, but he has decided to commit to the University of Utah from Marshall. What can you tell us about Alex Locklear?
Yeah, Locklear is a good offensive lineman. He's big. He's 6'5", 340 pounds. He made 35 appearances over his Marshall career. He only started 2 games, but he was kind of a Swiss Army knife for that Marshall offensive line. They'd play him at tackle. They'd play him at guard. He got reps a lot on the offensive line. He was usually the first guy off the bench and spelling for people if they went down. good athlete, and really, Utah is bringing him in, as a depth guy. And the Utes, it was abundantly clear at the end of spring football that depth was going to be an issue. We think we know who 4 of the 5, and maybe even 5 with Bama Lassini, who we've talked about a lot in terms of being the starters. But Alex is a guy that he can play guard, he can play tackle, he's going to come in, he's motivated for his last year. There's a chance that he could go in and earn a starting spot. Utah didn't promise him that, and that's, in fact, one of the draws of the Utes for Locklear was the fact that they said, look, this is a situation, we're pretty thin at the position, you're going to be able to come in and you're going to be able to compete, but we're not going to promise you anything. And he liked that because other schools had been promising him a guaranteed starting spot. And so he's coming here, he's going to be, a part of that rotation. He's certainly going to be in the top 8 guys. He's going to be a rotation guy. We're going to see him on the field, but really whether he's a starter or what specific role that he has to play isn't going to be determined until fall camp. I personally think he's probably going to be at one of those guard spots, and if I were to bet, I would say it's probably going to be Locklear and Braden Daniels that are going to be fighting out for that starting job at right guard once fall camp arrives.
Well, that means they must have had a scholarship available, which means, like a lot of schools, I'm sure Utah is saving a little bit of room towards the back end of their roster for a grad transfer here or there, or some random name that might come up. But along those lines now, we know the 2019 signing class was not the biggest of classes for the Utes just in terms of number. How about the 2020 class? How many guys are expected to sign with the Utes?
2020 is going to be much more of a traditional year. They're going to sign their full allotment of initials. They might hold 1 or 2 at the very end, depending on what happens in terms of guys that transfer in or in the summertime, or guys that transfer out, or or guys that get hurt or medically retire, or those types of things. As you know, that roster is always in flux, especially as things develop from a personnel standpoint. But we do expect a full class. They've only got the one commitment right now in Money Parks. He's the wide receiver out of Texas. They're hot after a lot of guys. We're going to see a lot of defensive backs. We're going to see a lot of defensive linemen. We're going to see a lot of linebackers. Defense is going to be the major focus on this class. But from a size perspective, we're going to see closer to the 25 than we did last year.
Dan Sorensen's our guest, ESPN 700. Did you see momentum coming out of the draft for the Utes when it comes to recruiting?
We're starting to see a little bit of it. As we're talking to kids after the draft, they're mentioning the fact that, Utah has put so many guys in it. And it was really interesting, in the day or two after the draft, we started to see a lot of regional and national media outlets picking up on the fact that, it's basically Utah and Washington are the schools that are putting, over the last, 3 or 4 years, that are putting the most guys in the NFL out of anybody in the Pac-12. Now, the Washington probably isn't a surprise to anybody based on the results that they've had on the field, but I think that there are some people that, maybe Utah wasn't on their radar, and the fact that Utah over the last 3 years has put more kids in the NFL than USC or UCLA or anybody else in the Pac-12 South, that speaks volumes to their development. And I can guarantee you that the Utah coaches are out there talking about that. Jim Harding is able to say, look, I've put 9 guys since the Pac-12, or since we joined the Pac-12, I put 9 guys into the NFL, and that's something that's a draw for a lot of these players, especially as they're trying to recruit higher rated, more nationally respected recruits. As Utah is getting in the game with that, they've got more ammunition because of what happened this last weekend to say, look, if the NFL is really a dream of yours, we do it better than anybody else, and we're doing it with guys that weren't rated as high as you are. So come, let us develop you. We'll develop you as a person. We'll develop you in the classroom. We'll develop you as a player. Oh, and by the way, look at all these NFL teams that love the way that we play on the line, or the way that we play defense, or running back, or whatever, and come join us and let us make you the next guy. And so that's the pitch, and it's starting to resonate, and we're probably not going to see what the real results are for, a couple weeks, a couple months maybe, but that's definitely something that's going to be in recruits' minds. And especially as we get through the season, we get closer to signing day, if the Utes win this fall and they're still in the game, that's just, another bullet point that they've got at their disposal that they can say, hey, look, this is why Utah is the right place for you.
2 years ago, the Utes signed the highest-rated recruit they'd ever landed out of high school. Solomon Enos had offers to Georgia and Michigan State and Oregon. He was a huge recruit, and he's been a great player for the Utes. Then last year, they followed it up with a commit from a 4-star receiver, a 6'8" basketball recruit as well from Cajon High School, Darren Jones. He never ended up signing with the Utes, though. What's the latest? Is there any chance Darren Jones can still be a Ute in the future?
It's looking pretty dicey, to be honest with you. And with Jones, it was always academics were always a concern, and he had a path that he could accomplish that would take him to where he needed to be. But as time goes on, especially as we're getting very close to graduation, about a month away from graduation for all these outgoing seniors, it doesn't necessarily look like he's going to be able to get everything done. So if that happens, he's going to go the JUCO route. We might see him reemerge in 2 years with the Utes, but right now I don't think anybody up on the Hill is holding their breath that he's going to be able to make it.
So if you're not eligible out of high school, do you automatically have to be in JUCO for 2 years?
Yeah, the rules get a little fuzzy for me. There are a few cases where we see guys basically use it as a gray shirt, and if they've got one class that they need to get done, they're sometimes able to come in late and join the team. But more often than not, a guy that's not going to make it, especially a guy that's got a lot of work to do, they're going to have to go the JUCO route rather than sign for the 4 years.
Dan, other news, switching it over to basketball, University of Utah, seeing Jace Johnson. We know he put his name in the transfer portal. Now he's gone and visited with Marquette. He's visited with Nebraska. I know initially when he put his name in the transfer portal, there was some thought that he could come back. Those seem like pretty serious interests, though. What are the odds you think he comes back to Utah?
Personally, I think the odds he comes back are 0%. I don't think he's coming back to Utah. I think that Larry Kraskowiak's an interesting guy, and he's not a guy that fools around. And if you put your name in the transfer portal, I can't imagine him being all that thrilled with it, and B, begging you to come back. He's an all in or in the way type of guy, kind of like Kyle Whittingham. So Jace Johnson, I would be shocked if he's a Ute this fall. I know that he's got teammates that are trying to convince him to not leave, but it's not something that I see. I think that Utah is going to move on without him, and good news for the Utes is that they've got bigs in the program. They're not experienced like Jace was, and they may not have the exact skill set, but there are guys that are solid offensive players. There are a couple of guys that can be solid rim protectors, while Jace was a great defender, he was not really a rim protector. And so we're going to see some different things out of the Utah bigs than we did moving forward with no Jace Johnson in the lineup. But, so it's not all bad. They're going to have a hard time replacing his experience. But beyond that, I think that they're moving on without him. I just don't think he's coming back.
Utes did add a shooter to help replace some of what they're losing with Parker Van Dyke and Cedric Bearfield. Brandon Wenzel coming in from Texas. What can you tell us about him?
Really like his game. He brings some interesting things to the table. First of all, he's a two-guard, but he's 6'6", so he's really long. He's got an amazing stroke. When most of the film that's available on him is from the AAU circuit. Now, granted, they don't play defense in the AAU. It's terrible if you've ever gone to an AAU tournament. Don't expect to see any defense whatsoever. But he would light up scoreboards. He's got a great stroke from outside. He's definitely a three-point shooter. He's not only a catch-and-shoot guy, but he can also create his own shot. He's got a good handle in terms of ball handling. For a 6'6" guy, he's definitely not a guy that they're going to ask to be a point guard. He's going to be, that two guard or maybe even on the wing, depending on, whether, Larry's going to play small ball. But, he's a guy that at least from a shooting standpoint, is going to be able to give himself a chance to play early. Now, the big question mark around him, and there's something that, that we don't know a lot about him yet, is how he is defensively. Because as you know, with the Larry Kraskowiak team, if you don't play defense, you don't play. And so it doesn't matter how good a shooter you are. And so he's got to be able to show that he can defend competently before he's going to be trusted with a lot of minutes. But because he's got such that unique skill set and such the ability to shoot from the outside, he's going to give himself a shot to play early. So good addition. Utah needed a shooter, especially because they lost Parker Van Dyke and Cedric Bearfield. It's going to be interesting to see just how quickly he can be brought up to speed and adjusting to the speed and the strength of the college game, and then being able to defend at the college level to see if he can maybe get on the court.
Find him on Twitter at DSorensen. Read him at utezone.com. Great stuff, Dan. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, guys.
There he is, Dan Sorensen. Again, I think we so often want to see immediate results coming back from when something good happens, whether that's you add a 4-star quarterback and you expect him to come in and win 10 games right away, or you have a good draft and you expect the next 4-star kid at left tackle because Jackson Barton did it to come in and sign right away. It's all a part of the process.
Yeah, okay, but to your point, what happened after the Utes won 10 games in 2015? They went out and signed their best recruiting class ever in 2016, including but not limited to Troy Williams, Garrett Bowles, Kavika Luafata-Songa, Zach Moss, Tyler Huntley, so on and so forth. So you do see results differently when you win 10 or 11 games versus when you win 5 or 6. But, yeah, Utah's been knocking on that door, and then all of a sudden they start putting guys into the NFL more and more than USC and UCLA. USC and UCLA are littered with 5-star recruits. A lot of drama. Maybe there's guys who don't necessarily just want to stay in L.A. their whole lives, because a lot of these recruits do come from L.A. That's where Utah can step up and be that next best option. But what if you do it in the NBA too? And what if the Utes become this NBA factory? Although it does feel like Utah and Kyle Kuzma had a strange relationship.
Yeah.
In that I'm sure Kuz was a little disgruntled that he was taken where he was in the NBA and then had success in the NBA, but also didn't quite have that same freedom at Utah. It feels like Utah now is trying to take a lot of credit for what Kuz did, even though he certainly didn't shoot the ball that well with the Utes.
Nobody expected him to turn into this player. Now, he's been good. He comes back to games. He hangs out. He goes to football games. He's around the basketball program in the offseason. I think that's a good sign. I don't think there's a fractured relationship there the way there is, who is it? Sean Smith doesn't love the University of Utah. Now, you don't necessarily need Sean Smith hanging around campus.
I don't know what Sean's deal is there. Maybe that's
but
right.
He's taken some shots at Utah in the past.
Oh, well, that makes sense. But
Kuzma seems happy to be back. He seems happy to be here.
No, but I mean, the Kuz was a guy that, the Utes are certainly putting on those banners now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, future recruits, look at Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, is that LeBron in the background? That's LeBron. They play on the same team.
Kuz was, it was a big shock when he left Utah early.
Yep.
A lot of people said, what are you doing?
A lot of guys bet on themselves at bad times. Kuzma bet on himself at a good time and ended up coming out and backing it up. And I think the nice thing is the Utes basketball team, the running Utes, Larry, has shown his ability to go out and get not 5-star, but a lot of 4-star recruits that are on this team.
Timmy Allen's a 4-star.
Yep. And
he showed up and had a great freshman year, and he's an NBA player. So Timmy Allen's a great success story.
Yeah. They've got a bunch of good success stories.
Lahat-Tune, Booth Gotch, they can all play in the league. Probably Donnie Tillman can play in the league. So you've got some NBA talent now up on the hill as well.
It'll be interesting to watch and end up seeing what happens with the running Utes and how good that team can be this year. Obviously, a little ways away still. When we come back, what's up with that? It's Gunther and Ben, Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. Gunther and Ben, ESPN 700, 431. Just a couple of dudes born in the USA.
Well, you and I were, and we love this country, and we appreciate the brave men and women who protect our freedom and protect this great country. What do you think Major League Baseball's attendance numbers are like this year?
This year? They're probably okay. It's been a little snowy, a little rainy.
No, in fact, it's been good weather throughout much of this season.
I'm not paying attention to what's going on in Cleveland with their weather pattern.
Yeah, there's been quite a drop-off. In fact, the Blue Jays, for example, they've seen a 30% dip in attendance from a year ago. 15 teams across the league saw a dip from where they were in March, April of last year, just in fan attendance. Now, you're talking about fans showing up at fewer and fewer rates, but baseball ratings are not headed in that direction. Because baseball's making money off these TV deals, which is where Trout gets $400 million and where Bryce Harper got
370 or whatever it was.
370, somewhere in that range. So there is certainly money being made off baseball. I can tell you because I bought myself a Dodgers jersey this year. Those baseball jerseys are making plenty of money.
It's bizarre.
It's $100.
I don't understand the baseball model. The model I understand is they've got 162 games. So you've got 162 times to advertise with your TV people, plus 81 games to get parking at your stadium, and then you hope, kind of the dog days of the rest of the world, you actually get some good summer outings, some good summer attendance, and you start to see that. Otherwise, I am surprised at the type of money we see in Major League Baseball. I also never heard anybody talk about Major League Baseball hurting for cash necessarily. Okay,
just in terms of attendance, the average attendance from March to April from last year to this year, the Blue Jays are down 30%. The Twins are down 18%. The Giants are down 17% in attendance. Royals are down 15% from a year ago. So there have been a number of teams that have really struggled there, and there are teams, though, that are still having success in terms of butts in the seats. And I think you're seeing this with a lot of different sports, and I'm not sure it's a baseball or a football or a basketball problem.
No,
I think it's a modern era problem.
Yeah, going to the games is hard, and watching the games on TV is easy, and the experience is fantastic. Now, watching at home, because the coverage is great, because your HD television is fantastic. Did you see this tweet earlier today? Michael Mulvihill, who is the data scientist, he's the executive vice president of programming and research for Fox Sports, and they're programming 50 of the most watched shows of the year from 2018 to 2019. So basically this past season, 50 most watched shows, 44 of them are live sporting events. One of them is the show that aired after the Super Bowl. So 55 of them are directly related to sports. 5 of them are other kind of live. It says 5 are live non-sports special events. So it's the Oscars or the Grammys or whatever it is. It is not programmed television anymore. It is not about sitting down and watching The Office or whatever sitcom you're looking at.
No, it's absolutely live sports, and that's what's here to stay, because that's what's keeping us watching live television. Everything else is a la carte, but everyone will tell you who's tried it, when you try to avoid your phone and record a game and watch it later of a team you're into, it is torture. Because every time your phone buzzes, you're going to get an update. You're going to find out the score. It ruins it for you. Few things can mimic watching live sports in person, but then you get home and you got a 60-inch flat screen with unlimited snacks at your disposal. Right. You can pause for potty breaks. No one's going to vomit on you behind you. There's not going to be a drunk person starting a fight behind you. That is a concern. However, do you see the Phillies sign Bryce Harper this year? So the Phillies have seen an increase in their attendance by, it's something like it's like a 44% increase, I believe it is now. It went from like 25,000 to 37,000 people in the stands.
Well, yeah. Who do you know who plays for the Blue Jays? Vlad Guerrero Jr.?
I guess Vlad Jr. only
because he's in the news today. What was the other team you talked about? The Minnesota Twins? Who plays for the Twins? Like, is it Joe Mauer's last year? Does anyone even know that?
I was going to say Joe Mauer.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know who else plays for the Twins, and we do sports radio for a living. So that's part of the issue as well. And we both knew that Vlad Guerrero actually was going to play. So you got to have names. You got to be able to sell something. But the good news is, and this is good for the world of sports, 44 live sporting events being the top 50 in the top 50 of most viewed things. Most viewed television shows over the last year. I think we would like to think that it's gonna raise the price of ESPN because they understand they've got the best programming. It's gonna be hard. They can charge whatever they want for advertising now, because if you've got the best shows, the only thing anyone's watching, charge whatever you want for advertising, because that's what people are looking at. That's where you get the most eyes and the most bang for your buck.
My kids think there's 2 things on television. There's either sports or whatever they want as far as Coco. Lately, they've been watching Coco.
Coco.
My son likes Tom and Jerry. My daughter likes Coco. So that's what's on our TV when they're awake. And then when they're not awake, or if they come in and watch, if I'm watching, there's a few sports on.
Yep.
But that's about it. And we grew up with sitcoms, and there were shows. And yeah, sure, Game of Thrones is great. Everybody loves it. I'm really enjoying everyone talking about Game of Thrones.
Don't be mad that you're not
the next
watching
couple
Game
of weeks.
Of Thrones.
No, I'm not mad. I really love hearing about it.
You know your own.
You sound mad.
I'm not mad.
He sounds mad.
I'm not mad.
I can tell you're mad. I can see it.
Okay, I'm mad.
I
am mad.
You start flipping your pen around, and then you start poking holes in your binder when you get mad.
I am very mad. Just like when I had to sit through 5 years of Breaking Bad and then Sons of Anarchy. Every idiot white person I know has to walk up to me and say, "Are you watching Sons of Anarchy? It's so good." My brother, my mom, my dad, "Are you watching Breaking Bad? It's so good." Guys, I missed the first season. I'll catch up later. Oh, I missed the second season. Guys, it's been 5 flippin' years. I didn't see Breaking Bad. I know that makes me a loser. I'm sorry. I just missed it. My wife has narcolepsy. We can't watch anything together. No, I missed Game of Thrones. F me, for goodness sakes.
It's so good. You got to watch it. You've got to watch it. You've got to see what Tyrion's doing.
Oh, Arya.
You've got to watch it. You have to watch it.
Oh, and then she mated with the midget or whatever, or the little person. They had an intercourse there, and then the little girl.
No, you got it wrong. No.
Yeah, and then the dragon came down in the red wedding, and they killed everybody.
JP, you got to watch it, right?
It hooks you from the very first season.
You got to watch it.
Bro, I don't have 8 seasons in me.
You got to watch it.
You'll see it past time very easily.
You know what's pissing me off, too? Everybody's saying, oh, there's nudity in it. Yeah, I'm not going to sit through 75 minutes of dirty crap, dirt-covered people, to just see, like, one, like, shadowy frontal nudity scene of a woman. My word.
But the storylines.
Yeah, the storylines.
The deception. Oh.
And there's incest.
The backbiting.
The brother.
Backbiting. Littlefinger. You got to watch it.
Wait, backbiting? Is that like a lovemaking thing?
You got to watch it.
Bite someone on the back? What is that?
Let's get to what's up with that.
My cat's breath smells like cat food.
What's up with that? It's an ESPN 700 exclusive. Let your old boys Gunther and Ben take your mind off things for a bit with a story that'll make you question the future of humanity.
You just sound a little mad.
Okay, I am mad.
You sound mad. Go check out Trilogy Medical Center. Look at that face fixed up. Make you smile again because you're going to be feeling confident, feeling good about yourself. Trilogy Medical Center can do that, whether it's your body, whether it's your face, hairline. Guys, if you have the PRP treatment in your hair, you want to start regrowing that hair naturally, they can do it for you at Trilogy Medical Center. Find them online, TrilogyMedicalCenter.com.
You know, it is so much fun to make fun of millennials because, like a lot of us that are not millennials, we wish that we were young, and I think it's always fun to make fun of the next generation. However, I will defend millennials in that it's not their fault they have access to information that the previous generation did not. They get a lot of flack for vaping. Okay, well, anybody who's been next to a heavy smoker will tell you that those cigarette stenches, they do not go away.
Correct.
You smell like a cigarette for the entire day. I would rather stand next to somebody with their fruity strawberry vape juice everywhere, which they don't stink afterwards. So there's something to this whole vaping thing. Look, in my day, men who wore ponytails were chastised. Nowadays, men wear ponytails and it's cool. Okay, so that's not the millennials' fault. That's in. Fixed gear bicycles are tougher to ride. They like riding those there. They like don't tread on me tattoos. You know, there's a lot of these things that millennials do that I think
genres, but okay.
No, they do. They like the old school tattoos.
Sure, yeah.
They like avocado toast. Okay, great. Here's one thing that millennials really have screwed up, and apparently Samsung is dictating the pace here. Samsung's TV, the latest TV from Samsung is called the Sero. S-E-R-O. It's a 43-inch TV that was designed with the millennial in mind.
That's not very big.
Because, well, I'm sure it'll come in different sizes, but millennials also can't afford TVs because they're too busy eating out, eating
avocado toast. You already mentioned
ordering avocado toast from Uber Eats and having food delivered to them without getting up, and then buying designer jeans with holes in them so they can go to Coachella to see Kanye. So the TV is a 43-inch TV that you can pivot from horizontal to vertical views. Said no one ever. Because no one has ever thought that they want your TV to be vertical. The thought process
That's being... That is the one I'm laying down?
No, the thought process being because so many millennials watch things from their phone that you'll be more likely to screen mirror your phone to the TV if the TV is vertical.
Okay.
Because so many videos now are made vertically because millennials don't know how to shoot video horizontally.
Okay. So you can do whatever mailbox and then you can do it upright.
I assume this is for Tinder, because isn't Tinder upright?
Landscape versus, well, what do you get?
Instagram, because Instagram's only up and down.
Yeah, but you could do that on your TV?
Well, if I lived alone, I would watch Instagram videos on my TV, for sure.
So what is this thing? Is this thing a big box? Is this thing a big square? Does it rotate?
No, I mean, I reckon it looks like a TV, but you could just rotate it from the normal TV view to horizontal.
Okay. That doesn't make any sense. I get what you're saying. It absolutely makes sense.
No, the idea would be that, if let's say you love Instagram, that's only a vertical platform. That would show up hella big on your TV that's vertical.
I don't know. I guess maybe people AirPlay things to their TV. Maybe they AirPlay their own videos off of...
You don't AirPlay?
Not my Instagram. Not my Tinder. No.
Oh.
Do you?
Yeah.
Your Instagram. You don't know how to AirPlay anything. You don't know what that word means.
You have no idea what that is.
You've never even seen Game of Thrones.
I just airdropped you guys a picture the other day. I know how to airdrop things onto the TV. You just press the button and it goes right to your Apple TV.
Okay, it's very gimmicky. So you can, the first few days you use it, you say, I've got 3 cute videos of my kids or whatever that I'm going to AirPlay onto the TV, and you can see them huge because the TV's now sideways. So it
is obnoxious.
43 inches tall instead of wide.
If you are trying to show your videos on a television, I reckon they show up landscape when you want them portrait or vice versa. But yeah, I'm with you. This TV does not feel like it's going to sell very well.
Do we have a price?
I mean, they just they don't give you.
Okay, it's the technology that's coming.
It's the technology. I mean, it's a 43-inch TV. How much could it cost? I'm sure it's not that much more expensive.
I don't know. It rotates. Does it rotate?
Yeah, like you can twist it and then it will.
It sounds like it's more of an issue with your wall mount then.
Yeah, that's true.
I get my
you
TV.
Get a special wall mount.
I get my TV won't do that, but that's stupid. That's a stupid idea. I agree with you. What's up with that? That's a dumb thing.
Millennials ruined it. They ruined TV. Congrats, millennials.
Now, here's the problem. When you start making technology to go after millennials specifically, I think you're going to lose millennials. That's not what millennials want. They don't want to be catered to. That's why they ride fixie bicycles. It's really difficult to ride a fixie bicycle. So we want
as soon as you recognize that they need to be catered to, then they'll stop wanting to be catered to, and all of a sudden they'll grow up.
That's exactly right.
So here's the thing. No, you know what? Samsung has solved the problem. All you millennials who drive Porsches but live at home, you guys can now stop wearing your Kanye West $800 shoes and move out of your parents' basement and grow up.
You sound mad. You still sound mad.
Me?
Yeah, you still sound mad.
I am mad at a guy who lives at home and has a nicer flipping car than me. Yes. Move out of your mom's basement and pay a mortgage.
Why do you care? Or move back home.
Huh?
Why do you care? Doesn't matter what car you drive. It doesn't define who you are as a person.
It absolutely does.
Nobody's ever looked at you getting into your jalopy that you drive and thought you're less of a person. Well, Football 50 coming up next. It's Gunther and Ben.
No, wait. Do you think I'm less of a person because of the car I drive? No, I'm confused. Wait a minute.
Football 50
What's
next.
your honest opinion
Gunther
of me
and Ben,
right now?
Utah's #1 sports talk. It ain't great.
It's been 6 years since Real Salt Lake competed at Major League Soccer's highest level and for the league's biggest prize, MLS Cup. Will 2019 be the year that the Claret and Cobalts return to glory? ESPN 700 has you covered all season long with Utah's best coverage of the beautiful game and RSL. From interviews throughout the week to all the coverage on match day, nobody does it better than ESPN 700. So as RSL battles all season long, keep it locked right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700.
Goal! Beckerman got it!
The soccer season is here, and the Real Team Store is freshly stocked with new Real Salt Lake and Utah Royals FC gear. Get brand new apparel from brands like Columbia, Fanatics, and Mitchell & Ness, new headwear from New Era, and even toys and collectibles for the most rabid fans. Conveniently located in the heart of downtown and at Rio Tinto Stadium, the RSL Team Store is open from 10 to 6 weekdays and 10 to 5 on Saturday.
If you're looking for a reason to work with a local Geico agent, I have all of them, because I'm the voice of reason. Reason 1, Geico agents could help you save on more than car insurance. Reason 2, they can help tailor your policy to fit your needs. Reason 3, they're local. And 4, they're local. Yes, I already said that, but it's still a good reason.
And if you're looking for more ways to save, your local Geico agent could help with more than just your auto insurance. Stop by or give them a call today. They're here to help.
Let's observe the inflatable noodle man. His constant undulating entices people to look at me, look at me. He's tireless and brainless, a literal airhead. Curiously, however, the inflatable noodle man, when hearing that Geico not only saves people money, but also has an award-winning app that makes it easy to manage one's policy, he knows you should switch. Because yes, switching to Geico is a no-brainer. Just ask an inflatable noodle man. Carefully, they are unpredictable creatures.
You know Diamonds Direct's prices are unbeatable every day, but this Friday through Sunday, they're even lower. This is it, the biggest store-wide sale all year. You save an extra 20% and more on rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets. Entire designer collections have been flown in for this, with each piece on sale. It doesn't get any better than this. Extraordinary selection, extreme value. It's Diamonds Direct's multi-million-dollar 3-day store-wide sale, Friday through Sunday at Diamonds Direct.
6400 South. Coming to the state capitol's Gold Room, May 3rd through June 24th.
Like with pirates?
No. These are historical treasures, like the 1862 Pacific Railroad Act, signed by Abraham Lincoln himself. Come to the Capitol Gold Room and treasure this unique experience. You can visit spike150.org for more information on this and all the other events of the Spike 150 celebration.
Hi, it's Ned Siegfried. Siegfried & Jensen has been around a long time. We've been handling injury cases for over 30 years. During this time, Siegfried & Jensen has had the privilege of helping tens of thousands of Utahns. If you've had the misfortune of being injured in an accident, we'd love to help you as well. To talk to us for free about your situation, call us at 801-222-2222 or visit us at siegfriedjensen.com.
We're here with Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center. Now, I know I hate the real treadmill, but what's this debt treadmill I hear about all the time?
Well, a debt treadmill is a trap with a lot of payday loan companies out there, especially some of the online scammers. It basically means you keep paying interest over and over and your principal never goes down.
So my loan would never get paid off in that situation?
Exactly, and it's not a good treadmill to be on. We make sure you pay a little principal with every payment you make at Dollar Loan Center. It's called a fully amortized installment loan. If you pay it off quick, great, major savings. But if you need more time to pay it off, even a year or so, at least you're paid in full at the end because you were chipping away at the principal on every payment.
Like it should be. Thanks, Chuck. Get up to $5,000 in just minutes at Dollar Loan Center. We have over 50 locations and our friendly Dollar Loan Center staff are ready to help. You can also apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
Registered with the Utah Department of Financial Institutions according to the Utah Consumer Code, Section 70C and Title 7. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
If you love comic books, Star Wars, cartoons, action figures, anime, superheroes, and cosplay, you'll love Geek Show Podcast. Now available at BroadwayMediaGroup.com.
You're listening to Gunther and Ben, presented by Intermountain Healthcare and Sports Medicine. The fellas return in 60 seconds here on ESPN 700.
This is Jeff Stout with Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple. At Fink & McGregor, we do mortgages full-time. That's all we do. We don't sell other goods or services to our customers. We don't share information. We just do mortgages for those who need them. This is not true of banks or credit unions. Banks and credit unions are necessary in this day and age, but not for your mortgage. When you specialize in something, you just do it better. That's why we keep our focus in one place. If you feel like your bank is taking too long, if you feel like they are charging too much, if you feel like they are giving you the runaround, or if you feel like you just don't matter to them, I invite you to try us. You'll be glad you did. Fink & McGregor, Mortgages Made Simple, 801-264-9494. That's 264-9494. Or on the web at finkmcgregor.com. That's finkmcgregor.com.
Gunther and Ben, brought to you by Intermountain Healthcare and Sports Medicine on ESPN 700 and ESPN700sports.com.
Gunther and Ben, ESPN 700, Football 50.
Telling somebody that they are mad is very disarming. As I just learned, it made me quite mad for you guys to tell me that you thought I was acting mad, and I realized I fell into your trap. We were talking about Game of Thrones. I think I'm the only person on earth who hasn't watched it. I'm just so late to the party, I'm sick of hearing about how good the party is. So my dad texts me, and he says, trust me, just fast forward through the violent scenes, and you're good.
Fast forward through the violent scenes?
Fast forward to the violent scenes.
Okay. It's all good. Whatever you like. That's why it's such a hit. Whatever you like.
Just fast forward to the violence and the nudity and then just move on from the storylines? If you want that,
you can get it. If you want the storylines, you can get those. If you're a diehard, politics guy, it's very political and how everyone's teaming up with one another. It's not trying to make any major points about the world. It's not out there trying to say what's right and what's wrong.
Man.
Everything's right and everything's wrong. But it's easy to watch.
From what I gather, that's part of the appeal, is that good characters are dying, bad characters are dying, good characters are doing bad things. I get it. There's a lot of that going on.
We saw the Utes add Alex Locklear, an offensive lineman. Dan Sorensen, who joined us earlier in the hour, told us he's kind of a do-it-all, kid, step in, can play center, can play tackle, can play guard. That's what he did at Marshall. Appeared in 36 games, but only started 2.
They say he's 6'5" and 340?
It's a big kid. It's a big fella.
340 tells me we might need to get him on the push-away plan. You see there is the eater plan, where you got to eat a lot. That's the seafood diet. Anything you see, you eat if you're a hard gainer. And then there's the push-away diet. If you got to lose weight, that's where you put food on a plate, and then you push that plate away from yourself, and you don't eat it.
Where do you still expect to see the Utes trying to add talent this offseason? It'll be interesting to see what they do at quarterback if Cam Rising is not given this eligibility.
They need a quarterback in 2019 who can step in and not lose them games. And that is the key. They don't need someone to help win you games. You're going to lean on Zach Moss and your defense for that. But as we saw last year, Jason Shelley made mistakes down the stretch in the third quarter against Northwestern that cost them that game. And I'm sure Jason Shelley is going to develop this year, but you do need a safety net to protect yourself, because this Utah team is too good to be taken down by a sprained ankle from Tyler Huntley.
3 games from Tyler Huntley, where he's trying to get back on the field. I agree with you.
And so I think you will need some help at the quarterback position as quickly as possible, because you're basically running out of time to do that. And then I would assume you're going to need another kicker.
Yeah, probably got to figure out a kicker. And those are big. I mean, quarterback is big, kicker is huge. We've seen it how often it's come up big at Utah. And you look back at the Oregon game, which was Jason Shelley's best victory. What happened?
Matt Gay had 6 field goals.
Okay, that was one of the reasons he got 18 points on the board and were able to win that game. 18 points. That's insane. That's a huge number.
6 field goals.
It's almost 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Now, I forget who the next kicker is, and I don't care. But I do know Chaden Johnson left. So the
Chaden Johnston.
It's good!
What did I say?
Johnson.
Chaden Johnson left. And Chaden Johnston.
Correct.
Oh, what are you guys, like the grammar police here?
It's his name.
Okay, you're right. Chaden Johnston is gone. So the next kicker has yet to be named. But let's bring in 2. Because the last backup kicker you had was Matt Gay, who ended up being the guy. There's a lot of guys that can make a 40-yard field goal. That is not the most difficult part of being a kicker. It's the pressure that goes along with it. That if you make the kick, nobody cares. And if you miss the kick, everyone's going to scream at you and thinks you suck. There's a lot of pressure being a kicker.
It's good!
So that's the biggest issue, is finding somebody with the ice water in the veins, somebody whose heart rate does not get above a murmur.
You know what the problem was with Chaden Johnston? I heard he couldn't kick without the extra T.
It's good!
Well, you don't use a T to kick a field goal.
Yeah, I'm just saying you couldn't kick him unless he had a T there.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, a T is just for kickoffs. Yeah, I mean, look, you really punted that joke away.
When we come back, the top 5 and 5, the 5 biggest stories in sports today in the state of Utah. Talk about Utah's 2019 upcoming season. Gunther and Ben, Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700.